Well, hey guys, how you doing? Just on my way home, just got off, got to the grocery store, heading on home. Uh, Geez, I think the thing that's banging around in my head, and hopefully is banging around everybody's head right now, is the fact that we just hit 4,000 cases here in Ontario, and our premier is doing basically nothing about it. The ideas that he is banding about are ones that continue the fail train, right? Anything to keep us all working. That's really what it comes down to. Anything to keep us all working. The new idea, if you really want to call it that, is a curfew, right? An 8 p.m. curfew, which, if you ask me, a curfew, especially given the circumstances, is like the last thing that you should be trying. It just continues this scapegoating narrative that Ford is moving forward with, right? Ford is attempting to find a scapegoat to move away from the actual problem and the actual issue, and while maintaining the sort of believability, right? And I hear people say this, people who I would consider generally left-leaning, falling for the grift, right? That the problem is that, people aren't playing by the rules. Oh, it's all these kids getting together and partying. Oh, that's the problem, right? Certainly not. The problem certainly can't be that we're all going to work, right? That can't be the problem. The problem certainly can't be that, hey, you notice that everybody goes to work all the time? You notice all the stores are open? Huh? Yeah, that certainly can't be the problem. The problem has to be, a couple of loose, unaffiliated kids just kind of getting together. Forget the mass systemic, force of the entire labor force still going to work. Yeah, ignore that. Don't pay any attention to that. Say nothing about that. Yeah, blame a couple of kids who want to get together and have, a party with their friends. That must be the problem. So, here we are, Doug Ford, pretending like the problem is, groups of kids, a bunch of yahoos, right? Pretending like that's the issue. When obviously the issue is that we're still going to work. Obviously the issue is that people are still in fairly close contact with one another on the front lines, right? And I work in a toy store, dude. If I'm open, everyone's open. And we're as non-essential as it gets. There is nothing more non-essential than a toy store, without a doubt. Don't get me wrong, I love it. I love the job I do. I love helping people. I love seeing the smiling faces on the kids. I love all that. We should be closed. Every single place in this province should be closed. And now's the time to do it. Now's the time to do it. It's absolutely flabbergasting that Ford didn't announce a full-scale lockdown, a proper lockdown, not this fake lockdown, not this nonsense, what they call a lockdown. I've even heard it referred to as a gray lockdown. It's all childish. It's not a lockdown, okay? This is a compromise. This is a compromise to a capitalist system, which perhaps you could justify this compromise during the Christmas season, right? Perhaps you could justify that compromise and say, no, we need to, for the economy, we need to ensure that people can still get the products they need to ensure that Christmas still happens, right? We need to ensure that wealthy business owners still manage to get the money they can get from the populace. We still need to make sure that this wheel of capitalism continues turning, right? Fine, maybe you can justify that. What you cannot justify is that the consequence of that is that now we're facing the highest cases we've ever seen, with no indication that those cases are going to dwindle. No indication that those cases are going to dwindle. If anything, the opposite will happen. That we will continue escalating, we will continue spiking forward, we will continue doing these things. We will continue to experience higher and higher cases, especially as the Doug Ford administration needs to be talked off a ledge, right? These guys needed to be convinced not to send our kids to school, right? It wasn't that long ago that they were talking about, hey, let's send these kids back to school at the height of a pandemic. And they needed to be talked down from that ledge. Absolutely absurd. Absolutely absurd. Like, if these guys are saying that kind of stuff, if these guys are moving forward and saying, oh, hey, let's send these kids back to school at the height of a pandemic, it means that they don't know what they're doing. Like, without a doubt, it means that they don't know what they're doing. They are not considering what their actions are. They are just doing things and then responding to the backlash. Like, for real, they couldn't put together that sending kids back in the middle of a pandemic is a bad idea. They're not going to put together that shutting the place down for about 2 to 4 weeks, right, is going to be a good idea. Because at the end of the day, they don't actually care about the people who are going to get hurt by this, right? They don't actually care about the people who are getting hurt, right? What they care about is money for themselves and for their donors. That's what they care about, right? Everything they've done indicates that's the case. That everything that they're doing is just so that they don't lose face, right? They don't genuinely care about people like me. Like, obviously not. Like, I am a frontline worker. That's their narrative. I am a frontline worker. Well, your frontline worker is telling you that you're messing up. You're messing up hard, and the numbers show you it's the case. Now you've got like the CEO of national Medicorp companies coming out and saying that you're messing up, right? Saying that that no one is safe. That's the word. Those are the lines that got used. No one is safe. Well, here's how you make everyone safe, right? Take a couple weeks, right? 2 weeks if you want to be as miserly as you can about it, and I know you do. I know you do, Dougie. Ugh. You want to be as miserly as you can to the populace. So, take 2 weeks, lock the place down properly, send everybody home. If you were wise, you would offer supports or increased pay for the essential workers, you know, your buddies at the LCBO, who actually have to keep the place open because people need food, right? These sorts of things. Shut the place down for a couple of weeks. Like, seriously. When are we actually going to get to that point? When are we actually going to get to that point where it becomes absurdly obvious that we should do a proper shutdown? Not this fake shit we've been doing. A real shutdown. When is it going to be obvious? Is it going to be more obvious at 5,000 cases daily? Is it going to be more obvious at 6,000 cases daily? Like, when does it become obvious that we need to be locking down? Because the numbers are going to get there, bud. Like, that's the way exponential growth works, right? The numbers are going to get there. And if we don't actually do the right thing, if we don't actually lock down properly, if we don't actually take care of this in a serious way, then serious things are going to happen. Like, for goodness sakes, we're starting to hear about mutated strains now are coming out of the places that are refusing to lock down, right? Hey, do you guys want to do this again, but with a new, more resilient, more resistant strain of COVID? Boy, howdy, I can't wait to deal with that. I can't wait until we're dealing with high levels of multi-strained COVID, right? Like, boy, is that going to be exciting. And it's 100%, like, you can go ahead and blame China for this virus if you really, really want, but China has nothing to do with this mutation, right? China did everything it could to clamp down on this. China did everything it could to stop this from spreading. China did everything it could to grip it down. That's why it has no cases anymore, right? Meanwhile, the UK, the United States, and Ontario are doing it just like this half-measure nonsense, which is performative, and we know it's performative. Right, we know it's performative. We know it's just a show. It's just so that you can actually stand up in front of people and show your face and actually claim that you're doing something. When the reality is you're not really doing anything, right? This is nonsense. We are getting into nonsense. Like, I was willing to tolerate the idea that, okay, fine, we'll do curbside, right? Fine. People People want Christmas to happen. They want their stuff. Curbside, good enough. Okay. It's staggering to me that we didn't immediately go into lockdown right after Christmas, right? And it's staggering me that we're not doing lockdown right now. That we're doing this half measure nonsense, pretending as though we're doing something. It's staggering. Like a historian, and not even a historian, but just like somebody looking back on 2020 and into 2021 and just be like, "Wait, you didn't lock down? What, are you insane?" And the answer seems to be yes. Like the answer seems to be yes. And there's still time. Like we could do it. We could do it. But the idea that the Ford administration is considering doing things like a curfew, right, instead of doing the right thing, which is an actual lockdown. And January is exactly the right time to do it. January is exactly the right time to do it. January, February, right? It's the dead season for businesses anyway. Nobody's making money right now. Nobody's going out. Nobody's doing any shopping, right? So I'm going to a building, standing around with other people, by the way, incidentally, who are also like coming out of their little bubbles, like, so you can't maintain any of that. That's just a joke. And everybody's just mingling with one another in a building where nothing much is happening. So what's the point? So we need a proper lockdown. Without a doubt, we need a proper lockdown. And it needs to happen sooner rather than later. And if we don't actually get this proper lockdown, then we're going to be facing massive, high level cases. We're going to look like the United States, right? We seem to be lurching in that direction anyway. So, hey, why not? Let's just full bore it. We need to be looking at the countries who have actually managed to eradicate this thing. We need to be looking at those countries, and we need to be asking ourselves, how do we get to that? How do we get to that? Ugh. I'm tired of COVID, man. I'm so tired of COVID. Like, it's getting to be grinding and exhausting. Like, I want to do the right thing as an individual, right? As an individual who is working with a community of people who I love and who I'm happy to be part of. But knowing that I don't actually have the support of my government to govern appropriately, knowing like the Ford administration is not actually that interested in governing. They're interested in looking like they're governing, right? In doing like these half measures. And of course they're going to listen pretty much exclusively to their wealthy donors. And their wealthy donors don't work on the front line. They don't know anything, right? Their wealthy donors are just interested in the end point. Like, and the only reason we got as far as we did as workers is because anything less would have been a mass walkout. The businesses wouldn't have run. But now people are looking at the Ford administration and being like, okay, where's the governance? And there isn't really much of any. Not really. Not that there ever was in the first place. So hardly surprising. And so it's not, why are we surprised then? Like the people who are being scapegoated, the people who are having the parties, the people who are doing this kind of stuff, why are we surprised? Right? They're caring as much about this issue as the Ford administration is, which is not at all. Right? So why are we surprised? Obviously they want to get together with their friends. Obviously they want to get together. Obviously they want to do this kind of stuff because they're still going to work. They're still going into these places and they're still interacting with these people and being told that's acceptable. But if they do the exact same thing with the people they love, their friends and their family, well, now they're being told they're going to be fined and there's going to be all of this kind of stuff. Like, the incoherence of it alone. Like, it's fairly staggering to see. It's fairly staggering to witness. And we're not, like, when do we take it seriously? Yeah, time will tell, I suppose. Time will tell, I suppose. I'm also deeply concerned about the white supremacy issue. Let's take a hard left turn. Let's go hard. Let's go hard towards that. Why not? I just spent 15 minutes talking about COVID. the Conservative Party of Canada, like the federal Conservative Party, just put up an ad on its own site accusing Justin Trudeau of stealing the election. It's Trumpian. It's completely Trump. And they put it up and then deleted it, which is exactly what Trump does, right? For these controversial tweets, because he knows what happens. He puts up the information so that the Nazis and the fascists in the organization can get a hold of it and circulate it amongst themselves, right? So it's been communicated, and then it gets deleted so that none of the liberal or leftist types can get a hold of it and actually take a look at it. But sometimes it gets caught, and this one got caught and is circulating in leftist circles now because the jig is up, right? The jig is up. There was a report recently that came out of the CBC, of all places, or was it Vice? Anyway. And like white supremacy and Nazism and all of these things are serious issues in Canada. It's like a serious problem that we pretend doesn't exist, and yet it is virulent throughout the Conservative Party. And it should be very, very concerning to us that the Conservative Party is starting to adopt tactics that they saw from the Trump administration, especially after the insurrection that we saw on January 6th. Is this what the Conservative Party is ultimately calling for? Is this what the Conservative Party is ultimately organizing for? Is the Conservative Party organizing to attempt a coup here in Canada? It's no longer hyperbolic to say that that's the case. We just witnessed it down in the States. We just witnessed an attempted coup down in the States. Sure, it failed, right? Sure, it didn't work. It was an attempt, though, right? What, you think all those people who just did that aren't going back to their buddies and celebrating what they did? You think those guys aren't going to become iconic legends? You think that Viking guy? Like, we look at that Viking guy and think like, haha, what a goofy idiot. He is the new symbol of the fascist right in America. No doubt. And if you think that's stupid, well, it is stupid. But too bad. It's still the truth. Doesn't change anything, right? That guy is the symbol of the fascist right. And if you don't like it, too bad. Start paying attention. You're gonna see those horns. You're gonna see that Viking hat. You're gonna see it all over the place now, right? It's going to become a new symbol of the fascist right. And and this was just the first attempt, right? This is just their first crack at it. You wait. If this doesn't get pushed back against with serious ferocity, you're going to see it again. You're going to see another attempt, and another attempt, and another attempt. You're going to see some very serious stuff. That's why when the NDP, Jagmeet Singh, puts forward a petition to declare the Proud Boys a terrorist organization, we should take it very seriously. And we should agree, and we should push forward with that. And we should be interested in why Justin Trudeau isn't going along with it. We should be very interested in asking. We should be constantly asking Justin Trudeau, hey, why aren't you declaring the Proud Boys a terrorist organization? Why are you allowing a terrorist organization to continue operating in Canada, but without actually declaring them a terrorist organization? And ultimately, it's because the same old riff that I talk about all the time, right? Justin Trudeau works with the Liberals. Justin Trudeau, the Liberals, work with the Conservatives. They work together, right? They're an alliance. They're not enemies. They don't see each other as enemies, right? They speak in public as if they are enemies, but this is like Hulk Hogan calling the Undertaker his enemy. They're allies. They work together in the same organization for the same purpose, right? Towards the same goal. They work for the same people. They do the same stuff. And they pass the ball back and forth because the populace is too gullible to realize that that's what's happening. We're so easily cowed, right? We can just so easily be, oh, well, I better vote Liberal or else a Conservative will get in. It's like, okay. I don't want to vote. Those white supremacists are going to get in, so I better vote for this white supremacist. Oh, okay. Justin Trudeau's literally walking around in blackface. And you guys are all like, he's the better option. Like, Jesus Christ. And
The and it's something that we should take very, very, very seriously. Like down in the States, if Joe Biden, when he finally is sworn in and he finally is the president, doesn't do like a full scale, like I actually think that this has been a massive gift to the Democrats, because the Democrats are actually in a bad position politically now, because they actually have the full amount of power in the Democratic Party to actually do something. This is what happened in the first 2 years of the Obama administration, right? The Democrats held the House, the Senate, and the presidency, and they did basically nothing with it. They passed like the most tepid Medicare system that you'd ever see in your life. It was Mitt Romney's healthcare system, a major gift to the pharmaceutical companies, a major gift to the industrial healthcare complex. Uh, uh, sure, it like covered a couple, like a million extra people. Okay, like, oh, okay, big deal. There are people in like a COVID disaster now who are not getting help whatsoever, and uh, the Democrats seem completely unwilling to help them, and they are, because they are. But now they're in a tricky political situation where they have to. Um, Now, if something doesn't get passed, they can't say those Republicans, those Republicans. Uh, it literally is because they don't want to. But now with this insurrection, they've been handed a gift, because now they can spend those 2 years when they have the House, the Senate, and the presidency, uh, dealing with Trump, right? That's what they can do. They can have full scale tribunals. They can have interviews. They can rout out fascism, right? They can do like a full scale anti fascist thing, and focus completely on uh, uh, presenting themselves as though they are fighting against fascism, which, yeah, excellent. That's an excellent thing to do. But they will not pass any economic legislation to help anyone whatsoever while they do it, right? So it will be specifically focused on crime. It will be specifically focused on incarceration, getting people into jail, right? Uh, Digging deep. It will look in every way exactly like the McCarthy hearings, except against fascism instead of against communism. Uh, and in my view, I mean, that gives it a bit of legitimacy, and it will have legitimacy on the left, without a doubt. People will definitely want to see these kinds of tribunals go forward, and some kind of serious investigation put into actually quelling the legitimate fascist organizations that exist in America and here in Canada, without a doubt. Uh, but it will also operate as a smokescreen, right? It will also operate as a smokescreen where the uh, uh, the Democrats will get to hide behind it. So instead of passing a health care bill that actually addresses the lack of health care options in the United States, instead of passing something like a basic income or some kind of supports, they will just hide behind this anti-fascist smokescreen that is entrenched in reality and is something they should be doing. So it's perfect. Donald Trump has given them the perfect gift on his way out. And they can spend as much time doing that as they want, right? They can spend as much time doing that as they want. And you wait, like their news organizations, CNN, MSNBC, right? They are just going to completely start pounding the anti-fascist drum. They are going to completely turn, and they're going to completely start screaming about it. Just the same way that they screamed about the Russia stuff, right? Remember how hard they went after Trump about the Russia stuff, the Russiagate stuff? Well, they can do the same thing with fascists. Of course they can. And they will. As long as it means that nobody stands up and says, oh, hey, you're not actually passing any legislation, right? And they won't. They won't pass any legislation. They will just sit on the power that they have and not do anything with it. They will not help the poor. They will not help the diseased. They will not actually help anyone. But because they will be chasing after fascists, like they're a bunch of, hardened detectives, people will eat it up, right? Americans and Canadians are extremely gullible. We're extremely gullible as a people. We go along with basically anything that's put on a TV screen. We're so easy to convince. We don't like to contemplate multiple narratives. We don't like to entertain counter narratives. We can be convinced that counter narratives are conspiracy theories very easily. We're extremely gullible, and you can sit and Donald Trump took advantage of that. Donald Trump took advantage of the fact that most people are extraordinarily gullible and are very easy to deceive. It takes a lot of work and a lot of thoughtful thinking to come to an empathetic position, to break out of your singular mode of thinking, right? To only perceive yourself as a player character and everyone else as an NPC is sort of the base start, right? You are not in a single player game. You are in a multiplayer game where everyone is an equivalent person to you. And and it takes effort and time and thought and compassion and empathy to perceive that and to think about it that way. And if you don't put that time in, and our system is completely structured to absolutely demonize doing that, right? That's why the humanities get demonized so much. Then you just end up with a bunch of idiots who are totally willing to follow anybody who's giving them any narrative that fuels their own sort of anger and frustration at the system, right? Like, you think those people charging into the White House, right, are doing it because they think they have a better option somewhere, right? These people hate the Democrats, and they're right to hate the Democrats. The Democrats have completely screwed them over. That they're not going to vote Democrat. Like, they're not going to vote for the party of Bill Clinton, who impoverished most of them, right? They're not going to vote for the party of Obama, who did absolutely nothing to help them, while claiming that he was going to do something to help them, right? Like, and the Democrats are not going to do anything to help anybody. They're going to start pounding on the pulpit. They're going to start playing a big game of being anti-fascist, but they're not really. Like, they're not really interested in that. They're just interested in putting up a smokescreen, and they will. Mark my words on it, right? I don't like to call things that often, but this one I'm pretty comfortable calling. The Democrats need a way. They need a smokescreen. Obama's smokescreen was, I'm going to reach out to the right. We need to reach across the aisle. He held these big meetings with the Republicans. You remember these? Held these big meetings, and this is the big talking point. And this is why nothing happened over these first 2 years when they held all this power, because he was busy reaching out to the Republicans and having these meetings and doing all this kind of stuff, right? They need a smokescreen. Donald Trump gave them the perfect smokescreen. Yep. Okay, well, this is the end of me. If you made it to this point, you guys, and you're not subscribed, just subscribe. For real. You're going to get a lot more content like this. You're going to get a daily kind of me observing what's going on and commenting it from a leftist perspective. Yeah, please hit all the bells, hit all the whistles, share it around, show it to somebody. I would love to get more subscribers. I would love to get more people on that Patreon. Once again, thank you to those who have already donated. You guys are you are the all-stars. You are the champions, without a doubt. And hey, if you want me to out you, just let me know. For real, I will 100% out you. But I don't feel comfortable outing you without your permission. Maybe I'll put a tier that it's completely me outing you. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. All right, guys. Good luck out there. We're going to need it.